feeds into a conversation I've always maintained. That for almost 6 years, you have maintained people at ministries. I can tell you that some of them have lost innovation. Some of them are stuck, they are concentrated and saturated. Ideas, them bebium. I've said it here before. I was insulted and called names. I have asked for a reshuffle, and there are people within the MPP who are speaking. Recently, I interviewed Dr. Engineer Kwabena Japan, who said that, look, the decision of the president not to reshuffle is a novelty. He said it. Dr. Nyahonya Otamakloma interviewing him, he said it. He said he's surprised. In fact, he said he was not surprised, I should say. He said he was not surprised that the president has not done a reshuffle because he cannot do it. Somebody also told me that the president knows how to hire, he doesn't know how to fire. And that is why Adjo Asafo stayed in power for more than a year, doing nothing outside the jurisdiction, dancing, laughing, and boogieing on TikTok. Parliament couldn't find her, the cabinet couldn't find her, the government couldn't find her, a constituent couldn't find her, a local station found her, interviewed her, and she was speaking slangs to us. Hopefully, she will get ex gratia on top of staying away from work and being paid, getting all the largesse of office and doing nothing. I'm not trying to be insensitive. She has family issues. Now, if I have family issues and it's affecting the whole organization that I work with, the most honorable thing to do is to step aside. Did she step aside? Did she opt to step aside? She placed, I watched that interview, she placed the ball in the president's court and said, Mr. President, that's the president's call to decide whether I deserve the job or not. And he put for me the new, the letter of announcement for the new gender minister. Yesterday, we are told that the deputy gender minister has now been elevated to the ministry or the minister for gender role, of course, subject to parliamentary approval. This is it. So all this while, the president had to let us wait for 1 year. We complained. We paid Adjo Asafo. And Kennedy Japan has said that we spent 120,000 from the chief of staff of it was given to him to go and lodge into his account. I want the special prosecutor to take an interest in it. We don't know if it's dollars or cedis. He said 124,000 was given to him. He said it on Asasi Radio. The chief of staff has not denied it. He has not come to retract it. Special prosecutor has not asked a question. The president has said nothing about it because the chief of staff is the most important person, number 3, at the Jubilee House. There's a seat of government. So we spent all of these things, even hired a private jet. The whole chief of staff rode in a motorcade, according to Kennedy Japan, to her house. She refused to see. And we had to wait until we made the deputy come up. Now, the question is, so where was this deputy when the children, 97 pesos per primary school child, could not even be paid for them to be fed? Where was the deputy minister? And why was the deputy minister quiet? Because the constitution says you are supposed to support or assist your minister and act in your minister's absence. It's there. And I remember the vetting said, I will support my minister. I will support my minister. I will support my minister. Surprisingly, some of them even said that when I get to the ministry, I will go and learn and understand. So in the last, 2 years, what did the deputy learn? What did the deputy understand? Why was the deputy quiet when the minister had gone, out of the job? That's the question I'm asking. Number 2, if the president knew that the deputy is fit for the job, why did the president have to let us wait for a full year? Mind you, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, that ministerial role is a cabinet position. It carries a lot of weight. So the persons living with disability who have been sacked from the toll booths because of a very hasty decision that's been defended and in their interest and told that people were fighting at the 38 tolling points. I've been asking where the people were fighting. Today, the people living with disability were told that they will be reassigned. Have they been reassigned? It's a gender, children, social protection issue. The children who are fighting in the schools over food It's a children, gender, and social protection issue. The caterers who feed him, caterers who have still not been paid, who are some of who are being victimized, and the letter came from no less a place than the presidency, sacking somebody who had led the caterers to go and demand for what is theirs, what they had spent. They were asked to take her out of the assembly. It's a social protection issue. Then when you talk about culture of silence, they tell you there's no culture of silence. So when you say, I say there's culture of silence, say there's no culture of silence, shut up. What is that? That letter from the presidency re-entrenched what the fear is about culture of silence. And people have tried to shut me down in a very nice way. I'm telling you, no joke. So now, when I asked for a reshuffle, I remember, I think last year or the year before, I asked for a reshuffle, and I asked a simple question, because I remember that the president had a very beautiful style of appointing his ministers, announcing them. 11 January 2017, he announced his first set of ministers. And then he will call you and say, oh, Peter Duncan, he has previously worked here. This is what he has done in his life. This is what he has achieved. And it is because of A, B, C, D problems I've seen at this ministry. That's why I'm putting him there. And that's my surest bet. Then they clap. Then he goes. He gave us a very detailed background of all the people who was appointing. Then he even gave us a ministry of planning, which boss is now the boss of the National Development Planning Commission. And I asked, what was the government planning at the time? He gave us a ministry of monitoring and evaluation. And then we did one cosmetic monitoring and evaluation of the ministers. That was the end. In fact, in Parliament that day, I asked Haji Halima Mahama, I said, today you guys are going to have your monitoring. He said, I have no idea. In Parliament, when I think it was a budget review or a State of the Nation address, I was in Parliament. Now, fast forward, some of the ministers from the first term have been retained in the second term. Now, what was the measurement? What was their test score? What was their scorecard? And why were they retained? Were they retained because they are friends of the president? And he put foot soldiers asking for reshuffle now. The same people who insulted me called me anti-government and said I am a hater of the regime. The same foot soldiers, they are asking for a reshuffle. So now you know who the real anti-government, anti-haters, all of those people, you know who they are. That's them. The MPP foot soldiers are crying for reshuffle. It's on Daily Guide. They are crying for reshuffle. I said this 2 years ago. They said, oh, he is anti-government. They didn't catch the vision. Now they have caught the vision and they are crying. And you see, the painful part is that they can't even suggest the names. They can't put out names for people to be reshuffled. They are all scared. They are afraid of them. So we have formed an old people's brigade around the president. When the young people in the party have no jobs, and now if you have served your country for more than 30 years and you still need to be relevant as a minister or as a board chair somewhere or something, and the young people that you encourage and engage to sacrifice, they have no work to do, you should bow down your head in shame. You have served your country for 35 years. You still want contract. You still want, appointment, extension. You still want everything else. The young people in the party who go to the grounds, who run around, they have no job to do and you are happy. You are encouraging old people's brigade around the president. An old man with old people around him. And you are wondering where our country is going now. We are in an Ajana 1, Ajana 2 situation. The MPP told us we have the men. They do, no doubt. And yesterday I played for you what the pastor said. If you have the men, you have the men, you have the men, and you don't use the right men, they will not give you their mind. He said it. You have young, energetic, bold, enthusiastic people in the MPP. Intelligent who have showed working. They have all been pushed aside. I had to stand there to advocate for some young people before they were given jobs. Why should it be so? President Kufuor, at a very young age, was given a position. President Akufo-Addo, same. Yao Safo-Malfo, same. A Greek minister, all of them. How is it that you have people who are past 60, past 70, some inching towards 80, and some even going to have a good night? And we are deciding that we will keep them in positions. So what kind of transition are we creating? What kind of mentorship are we creating? What are we doing to ourselves? Young people, today they are crying. These same people, today they are crying. The people who insulted me, they are crying. It is good that they have come to catch the vision and realize that what I was talking about was not for my personal interest. Why? Will I be appointed by President Akufo-Addo? No. I won't. But if I won't be appointed by him, and yet I can identify people, or they can identify people who can be appointed, why are they calling for a reshuffle now? Because they have seen that at the end, Atonsium, that's what the president said, Atonsium. The dollar has broken the 8. It is going to have a good night. The pound has taken its 10. The euro is swimming. I don't know if the keys that the vice president said he had locked the dollar and given the keys to the IGP. The IGP appeared when he was leaving, Nicodemously opened the cell for the dollar to come and pass. Or whether it has broken jail, I don't know. But this is the message. Good morning.
We have a man. We have a man. We have a man. If you have a man without unity, you don't have the mind. Listen. Listen. Because if the men are there and they are not united, they will not give you their brains. The party will suffer and the nation will suffer. They will sit down and watch. They want someone to fail for them to take the baton. But you don't want to. Let me tell you, if the group fail, if the nation fail, you have failed. Maybe you called a wrong person to speak today. The Greek word for division is not what we are saying. The Greek word for division is not party, it's not groupings. It's the Greek word is you tear apart. If the party in power is not united, the country will suffer.